The Concorde spire hovered like a shard of frozen starlight above Valor Prime, its crystalline towers refracting the sun into a mosaic that stretched across the planet's sky. Even from the docking platform, Commander Arya Vance felt the pressure of eyes, hundreds of delegates, aides, and guards watching her ascend the ramp. Human footsteps echoed differently here. The spire's structure carried sound in metallic ripples that made every step seem louder than intended. She kept her posture calm, shoulders squared, gaze forward. The emergency session had been called only hours earlier, and the galaxy had responded with a murmur that hadn't stopped since. A human emergency session meant loss. It meant danger. It meant something had crossed a line. As she approached the entrance, she caught fragments of whispered alien speech. The humans lost a convoy. The frontier is unstable. Pray they do not react. A pair of delegates stepped aside, giving her a wide berth. Arya didn't react outwardly, but she noticed everything. Inside, the High Council chamber stretched in a circular expanse, filled with rows of levitating seats arranged around a central platform. Colors flickered across the amphitheater. Species identifiers, diplomatic ranks, emotional markers. At the far end, beneath a towering prism of rotating data, stood High Strategist Vrax Till. Cold silver skin, eyes like fractured mirrors, and the stiff, predatory stillness of someone waiting for a misstep. Arya stepped onto the central platform as her name was announced in a dozen languages. Her voice carried clearly when she spoke. "Thank you for convening. The matter is urgent. A human convoy at the Caraxes line has been attacked. Civilians were taken. Lives were lost." A wave of murmurs swept the chamber. Vrax Till raised a hand, signaling silence. "The Council is aware," he said. "Pirate activity has risen in that region. A regrettable tragedy, but hardly unprecedented." Arya let the words hang for a moment. "The attackers used Concorde-grade pulse artillery," she said, "and stealth plating not found on any known pirate vessel." A sharper ripple passed through the assembly. Vrax Till's expression didn't shift. "Your interpretation of the data." "It isn't interpretation," Arya replied. "It's analysis confirmed by Resolute's systems. The attackers weren't pirates." One of the elder delegates, old enough that folds of translucent skin draped like ceremonial robes from its slender frame, leaned toward its neighbor. Arya wasn't meant to hear the whisper, but she did. "Gods help you all when humans get angry." The phrase echoed in a strange, quiet way, as though it slipped into the chamber's deeper resonance. Arya held her composure, though her jaw tightened for half a breath. Vrax Till's eyes narrowed. "You imply inner Concorde involvement," he said. "That is a serious accusation." "It's a fact," Arya said. "Weapon signatures don't lie. Someone with access to restricted armaments equipped those raiders." The strategist stepped down from his elevated position, stopping only a few paces away from her. The reflective plates on his armor glinted under the chamber lights. "Commander Vance," he said smoothly, "humans are known for emotional leaps. You experience grief, and suddenly everyone conspires against you." "Emotional leaps?" Arya asked. "We buried families yesterday. But I'm here for evidence, not vengeance." Vrax Till tilted his head. "Yet your tone suggests the latter." "If I intended vengeance," Arya said, "we wouldn't be speaking in this chamber." A tense hush fell across the spire. One of the aquatic ambassadors let out a low trill of concern. Another flicked its bioluminescent fins in anxious patterns. Arya kept her eyes fixed on Vrax Till, refusing to let him frame her people as unstable or reactive. That perception had shaped far too many Concorde debates in the past century. She projected a cluster of holographic images into the air: charred hull fragments, energy discharge maps, pulse weapon overlays. The data rotated silently above the platform. "These aren't pirate signatures," she said. "And someone scrubbed several Council security logs hours after the attack. You can confirm this through independent auditors." Vrax Till's lipless mouth curved slightly. "Convenient claims. fabricated to divert responsibility from border instability your species caused. Arya didn't allow her patience to slip. This isn't instability. It's targeted aggression. Civilians were chained in neuroshock collars, used only by authorized military detachments. Enough, Vraxtil snapped, raising his arm. Your accusations serve no one. The Council will not descend into human paranoia. Arya closed the hologram slowly. For a moment no one spoke. She scanned the chamber. Some delegates looked away, avoiding entanglement. Others stared at her with something between fear and expectation. Humanity had built its reputation on precision, resilience, and terrifying unity when threatened. The Council knew it. So did the galaxy. Very well, Arya said, stepping back. If this Council refuses to acknowledge evidence, humanity will continue its own investigation independently. You will do no such thing, Vraxtil said sharply. Military action along the frontier requires Concord approval. Investigation, Arya repeated. Not military action. Vraxtil's glare suggested he didn't believe her. Or worse, that he hoped she would escalate. Arya gave the chamber a final bow and walked toward the exit bridge. As she crossed into the corridor, footsteps approached softly from behind. The elder delegate she had heard earlier drifted beside her, veil-like membranes fluttering around its elongated form. Commander, it said in a hushed tone, your analysis is correct. But you stand surrounded by wolves who pretend to keep peace. Be careful. Arya paused. You know more than you're allowed to say. The delegate's dark eyes reflected something heavy, fear, guilt, or both. Some truths, it replied, cost entire civilizations. But understand this, your people are feared not because you are violent, but because your anger is deliberate, focused. The Council knows this, even if it pretends otherwise. Arya held the delegate's gaze. If you have information that can prevent further loss, you should speak. I cannot, the elder said softly. Not yet. A tremor in the corridor lights signaled the shift of hundreds of energy conduits through the spire's core. The delegate turned away, dissolving into the crowd with fluid motion. Arya stood alone for a moment, letting the silence settle around her. The spire felt colder than when she arrived. She stepped toward the docking bridge, her mind already assembling the implications. Concord-grade weapons, scrubbed logs, Vraxtil's hostility. The whisper of someone who clearly knew more than he dared to say. The truth was closing in from all directions. As she boarded the shuttle back to the HSS Resolute, Arya activated her comm. Cade, she said, prepare the analysis suite. We're digging deeper. Her second-in-command responded immediately. Understood. Sending secure channels now. The shuttle doors sealed behind her. Engines hummed as they launched from the spire, leaving the crystalline structure gleaming like a judgmental star above Valor Prime. Arya didn't look back. She didn't need to. She already knew the storm had begun. The HSS Resolute floated beyond Valor Prime's orbital path like a silent judgment. Its hull reflected the faint glow of the planet below, streaked with the silver lines of docking drones weaving through maintenance routes. Commander Arya Vance stepped off the shuttle and inhaled the familiar scent of recycled air and ozone, a grounding reminder that here, unlike the Concord spire, truth wasn't filtered through politics. Her boots had barely touched the deck before Cade Dalton, her second-in-command, met her with a data slab in hand. You're going to want to see this, he said, matching pace beside her as they strode toward the command deck. How bad? Arya asked. Bad enough you'll forget what pirates are supposed to look like. The hallway lights dimmed in synchrony as they passed, responding to their movement. The Resolute's AI, Miris, briefly shimmered to life in the form of a cool blue hologram near the bulkhead. Welcome back, Commander, Miris said. I have prepared a full reconstruction of the Caraxes attack. It contains anomalies I believe will interest you. Arya nodded. Display it in the war room. She didn't waste time. The door slid open, revealing a circular chamber lined with multi-layered hollow panels. The air hummed softly as the system activated. The moment she stepped inside, the projection ignited, an unfolding image of the Caraxus line, its twin asteroid belts orbiting a dying red star. The convoy appeared next. Transport haulers, medical carriers, and an escort of 2 human corvettes. Arya stood in silence as Miri's reconstructed the ambush. The raider ships emerged from behind drifting rock masses, engines muted, hulls coated in shimmering stealth plating. Pulse artillery tore into the corvettes before they could send a distress signal. Boarding claws latched onto the transports. Human civilians were dragged out, some unconscious, some fighting, then fitted with metallic collars that sparked with cruel energy. Arya clenched her jaw. "Freeze," she said quietly. The scene paused, capturing a raider as it wrestled a colonist forward. Its armor bore the faint scars of insignia removal. Not pirate marks, military shapes, hastily scraped. Cade folded his arms. Whoever did this wasn't using scraps. This is organized, equipped, and confident enough to leave signatures they assumed we wouldn't recognize. Arya zoomed in on the pulse artillery blast. The energy waveform unfolded into a lattice of recognizable patterns. Concord grade, restricted, traceable. "No pirate packs Concord weapons," she said. "Not unless someone hands them over." Miri's flickered. "There is more. The neuroshock collars used here are manufactured exclusively for approved enforcement unit. Batch records match those allocated to the Strategic Defense Circle." Arya's breath stilled. "Vraxstill's division." "Correct," Miri's replied. Cade muttered a curse under his breath. "So the strategist calls us emotional while outfitting slavers with his own gear?" Arya didn't answer immediately. Instead she stepped closer to the hologram, studying every movement. "Play the rest." The projection continued. She watched civilians separated onto different vessels, the raiders coordinating in quiet, rehearsed motions. The corvettes exploded in controlled bursts, the kind used when eliminating evidence. When the final ship fled into the dark beyond the star, the image dimmed. Arya exhaled slowly. This wasn't desperation. It was orchestration. "Agreed," Cade said. "Question is, how high does it go?" Before Arya could answer, Miri's brightened again. "Commander, I intercepted an unauthorized infiltration attempt 17 minutes ago." Arya turned sharply. "Infiltration?" "Yes. A Concord stealth drone attempted to breach Deck C. Non-lethal override deployed. The drone is secured." Arya exchanged a look with Cade. "Show me." A small compartment opened beside the wall, revealing the drone, a sleek black sphere with thin mechanical limbs curled inward like a dead insect. Its surface bore faint emission patterns. Cade tapped one of the panels. "This thing carries recon-grade adaptive cloaking. Only high-ranking council units use these." Arya scanned the embedded directive block. A corrupted data string flickered, fragments of coded instruction emerging and fading. Miri's translated. Primary directive: track human envoy. Secondary: relay positional updates to encrypted node. Final directive: initiate terminal overload upon capture. Arya stared at the dark shell. Someone had sent this machine to watch her and eliminate traces if caught. "Vraxstill is tightening the noose," she said. "He must think you're close to exposing something," Cade replied. Arya thought back to the elder delegate's warning. Wolves dressed as peacekeepers. Truth costing civilizations. The tremor in his voice hadn't been exaggeration. She turned toward the upper displays. "Miri's, cross-check the drone's encryption with Council communication logs." "Already in progress," Miri's said. "Initial comparison suggests overlap with internal defense circle channels." "Of course it does," Cade muttered. Arya paced once around the table, gathering her thoughts. Emotion didn't cloud her judgment, but she felt the pressure behind it, controlled, quiet, building in weight. "We need to bring this to the Council," she said. "They'll deny everything," Cade replied. Vraxtil will call the evidence fabricated again. Let him try, Arya said. This time I'll be prepared. She returned to the spire hours later, armed with visual records, encryption trails, and forensic overlays. The High Council convened again in a hastily arranged emergency session. The hall was thick with tension. Alien representatives watched Arya with apprehension, curiosity, and something she recognized all too well, fear of what she might do. Arya raised her hand, summoning the holograms once more. Every detail they had collected appeared before the assembly. Vraxtil stepped forward immediately. This is an elaborate construction, he said. Human technology can falsify signatures. You seek to provoke discord. We found a Concord drone spying on my ship, Arya replied, with orders to monitor and erase its own trail. That's not piracy. That's internal sabotage. Vraxtil's mirrored eyes narrowed. Baseless. Arya held up the final piece. The encryption match Miri's had produced. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as the projection sharpened, linking drone directives directly to defense circle channels controlled by Vraxtil's faction. Gasps scattered across the room. Before Vraxtil could refute it, a soft chime sounded in Arya's ear, her personal comm transmitting a coded message. Only 3 words appeared. I know more. Meet. The identifier belonged to the same elder delegate. Arya's heart beat once hard. Someone inside the council was ready to defect. The council chamber descended into argument, accusations flung across species lines. Arya maintained her composure until the meeting dissolved in confusion. Vraxtil glared at her as she walked out, his stillness cold and deliberate, as though calculating every step she took. Back in the corridor, she opened the message fully. Coordinates to a maintenance bay beneath the spire pulsed on the screen. Cade's voice crackled through her comm. Commander? What now? Arya closed the overlay. Now, she said, we follow the trail someone just risked their life to give us. She lifted her gaze toward the towering glass structure above, its crystalline layers gleaming against the void. The shadows in the frontier were no longer distant. They were here, and closing in. The maintenance levels beneath the Concord spire felt nothing like the luminous halls above. Down here, the air hummed with engine vibrations and the faint tang of coolant. Pipes crisscrossed overhead like tangled metal roots, leaking dim light through sealed casings. The polished perfection of the council's chambers had no place in this forgotten understructure. Arya moved through the narrow walkway with measured steps, alert but unshaken. Cade followed behind her, hand resting near his holster but not drawing attention to it. Miri's projected a faint guiding line on Arya's wrist display, tracing the path toward the coordinates the elder delegate had sent. Strange place for a diplomatic discussion, Cade murmured. Strange times, Arya replied quietly. They reached a heavy door partially hidden behind a cluster of inactive cargo unit. Arya pressed her hand to the manual override. The door parted with a slow metallic sigh. Inside, the room was dim except for a pale glow from a single overhead strip. The elder delegate stood near the far wall, its translucent membranes shifting with unease. It looked older here, stripped of ceremonial poise. You came, it said, voice trembling but steady enough to speak truth. Arya approached with controlled calm. You asked. I listened. Cade stayed by the doorway, watching their surroundings. The elder delegate glanced toward the ceiling, as though expecting surveillance. I removed the sensors. But we should speak swiftly. Arya nodded. Then speak. The elder folded its long fingers together. The attack on your convoy was not piracy. You know this already. But the scale of what lies beneath you do not. Arya waited without interrupting. The silence encouraged the delegate to continue. High Strategist Vraxtil has been preparing a containment initiative. He views humanity as a destabilizing force, a species rising too quickly. He believes your expansion will eventually spark a galactic conflict. The elder's throat vibrated with distress. He plans to restrict your growth through provocation. Cade exhaled sharply. He slaughtered civilians to make humans look volatile. The elder flinched at the bluntness. It was not only to blame you. It was to study you. To judge how far he could push before you retaliated. Arya's voice tightened. He wanted to measure human anger. Yes, the elder whispered. And use the result to convince the Concord to approve preemptive limitations on your fleets, your colonies, your technology. He considers it a necessary safeguard for the galaxy. Arya felt a cold clarity settle inside her. Anger wasn't the heat Vraxtil expected. It was precision, focus, the realization of betrayal from those who claimed to be allies. Show me evidence, she said. The elder produced a small crystalline data shard, glowing faintly in its palm. These contain internal communications, orders, supply routes reallocated to raiders, and directives to erase logs implicating his division. Cade stepped forward to receive the shard, but the elder pulled its hand back slightly. I give this at great risk, it said. My species values neutrality. But I cannot watch a calculated slaughter used to manipulate the galaxy. Arya met its gaze. You're doing the right thing. The elder's voice quivered. No. I am doing the necessary thing. There is a difference. Arya took the shard carefully, her expression steady. Once this is public, Vraxtil cannot hide. The elder shook its head. Truth may not stop him. He expects you to react violently. He has positioned forces already, waiting for justification. Then he will be disappointed, Arya replied. Humanity chooses its battles. He underestimates us. He underestimates your restraint, the elder agreed softly. And fears what happens when that restraint ends. A distant clang echoed through the corridor outside. Cade stiffened, hand moving to his weapon. We need to leave, he said. Arya nodded. Thank you, she told the elder. Come with us. We can offer protection. No, the elder said quickly. If I vanish, suspicion will fall immediately. I must return as though nothing transpired. That is the only way I can remain alive and useful. Arya didn't like it but understood. Some battles required players inside the enemy's walls. They slipped out, sealing the door behind them. Miri's whispered in Arya's earpiece. Commander, multiple signatures approaching from the west corridor. Concord armor units. They're early, Cade muttered. Arya quickened her pace. They're moving to intercept. The strategist must know someone broke ranks. The corridor forked ahead. Arya took the right passage, avoiding the main walkway. Metal grated beneath their boots as they moved through dim emergency lighting. A voice boomed from a speaker grid above. Commander Vance, an amplified tone declared. You are ordered to stop. You are under investigation for espionage against the Concord. Cade barked a humorless laugh. Espionage? That's quick work. Arya didn't break stride. They want to detain us before we reach the Resolute. Miri's projected a small directional map on her wrist display. Left access tunnel leads to a service elevator. It connects to the dock level. Mark it, Arya said. They reached the tunnel just as armored silhouettes appeared behind them, council enforcers, weapons drawn, advancing with practiced rhythm. Cade fired a stun pulse down the corridor, forcing them to halt. Move! Arya dashed through the narrow passage, the echo of boots closing behind them. The service elevator loomed ahead, manual controls, limited shielding, but workable. She slammed the activation lever. The doors groaned shut just as the enforcers reached the entrance. A blast hit the metal. Loud, jarring, but the lift held. As it ascended, Cade leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Vraxtil didn't waste time. He expected someone to talk, Arya replied. This acceleration means our window is small. We have the shard, Cade said. That's enough to expose him. It won't matter unless the entire Concord sees it at once, Arya said. If he controls the chamber or intercepts transmission pathways, he'll bury the truth. So we go public, Cade said. Beyond the council. Across the galaxy, Arya confirmed. The elevator slowed as it reached the docking bay. Through the slats of the metal door, the Resolute stood ready, its lights gleaming like a silent sentinel. Arya stepped out with renewed resolve. Every piece now had a place. Raids, logs, surveillance drones, and now concrete evidence. Vraxstill's plan wasn't subtle. It was daring, ruthless, and structured to break humanity's patience. But the result was the opposite. It strengthened Arya's clarity. As she crossed the docking bridge, Cade looked at her with a question he didn't need to voice. She answered anyway. He wanted to measure human anger, she said. Then let him witness what happens when we turn it into purpose. She activated her comm mirrors. Prepare full-spectrum broadcast channels. Every Concord world, every relay, every fleet. Ready, Mirrors replied. Awaiting content authorization. Arya held the crystalline shard tightly. Then let's tell the galaxy the truth. The HSS Resolute loomed above the Concord spire like a silent warning. Its hull lights glowed with steady confidence as Commander Arya Vance stepped onto the bridge. Every officer stood at their station, tension wound tight but controlled. They knew what this moment meant, not just for humanity, but for every species watching the galaxy tilt toward conflict. Mirrors, Arya said. Begin the transmission. The AI's hologram flickered into view. All channels synchronized. When you speak, every Concord world will hear you. Arya stepped before the main holocaster. The crystal shard containing the Elder Delegate's evidence pulsed in her hand like a heartbeat. She placed it into the projector slot. The ship lights dimmed slightly. The recording began to decrypt. Cade glanced at her. Once this goes out, we can't walk it back. That's the point, Arya replied. The broadcast activated. Her image spread across thousands of worlds. Alien cities, mining colonies, orbital academies, even deep space listening stations. Every screen, every relay, every diplomatic hub shifted to display her standing on the bridge, posture straight, voice calm. This is Commander Arya Vance of the Human Diplomatic Envoy, she said. The attack at the Caraxes line was not piracy. It was sanctioned. Gasps, alarms, raised voices across the galaxy, inaudible to her but felt like a tremor across spacetime. The projector showed internal orders bearing Vraxstill's authorization codes, weapons transfers to unmarked vessels, and command logs detailing the plan to provoke humans. Then came footage of the raider crews, their armor still marked with distorted military insignia. Arya spoke clearly, without emotional theatric. Your civilians were used as test subjects. Your trust manipulated. Your alliance threatened for one man's ambition. Her expression hardened. We will not allow this to continue. The screen faded to black. The broadcast ended. Mirrors confirmed delivery. Transmission complete. All Concord systems received the message. But silence didn't last. Multiple fleets approaching, Mirrors added. Strategic defense circle units. They are moving to intercept us under emergency authority granted by Vraxstill. Cade swore under his breath. He's going to try to silence us. Arya stepped closer to the main viewport. Warships surrounded the Resolute, sleek angular vessels primed with enough firepower to cripple a fleet. Their engines glowed with hostile intent. A channel opened. Vraxstill's face appeared. His mirrored eyes reflecting fury he struggled to mask. You have endangered the entire Concord, he said. Stand down and surrender for debriefing. Arya answered with a calm, controlled tone. You've already been exposed. Anything further only digs your grave deeper. Human aggression proves my point, Vraxstill snapped. I will not let you destabilize this alliance. You destabilized it yourself, Arya said. We simply showed the truth. His lips curled. We will tear your vessel apart. Arya turned away from the projection as it cut abruptly. The lines of enemy ships glimmered like steel teeth. Cade stepped to her side. Orders. Arya's voice was even. Disable them. No casualties. The bridge crew moved instantly. This was what humanity excelled at, decisive action, not reckless violence but exact, controlled capability honed over centuries. Meares initiated the first wave. Gravitic nets deployed, shimmering tendrils of force that wrapped around enemy cruisers, freezing them mid-flight. Ion lances followed, slicing through propulsion grids without harming biological lives. EMP pulses radiated outward in calculated bursts, shutting down weapon arrays with surgical precision. Ships that had arrived bristling with aggression now drifted powerless, trapped in harmless stasis fields. The entire engagement lasted 73 seconds. 73 seconds to dismantle a coordinated assault without a single death. The bridge fell quiet. The threat was gone, but Arya felt no triumph, only purpose. "Meares," she said, "locate Vraxtil's flagship." "Coordinates locked," the AI replied. "His vessel attempted escape but suffered gravitic disruption from our countermeasures. He is immobilized." "Prepare boarding craft," Arya ordered. Cade nodded. "Let's finish this." Minutes later, Arya stepped onto the strategist's flagship. Its corridors were dim, emergency lights flickering after the disabling wave. Disoriented guards tried to raise weapons, but human marines disarmed them quickly, offering medical triage rather than punishment. Arya moved directly to the command chamber. Vraxtil stood beside a damaged console, its interface sparking. His expression, usually carved from cold calculation, now showed a fracture, fear slipping through. "You are out of your depth, human," he said. Arya approached, each step measured. "You orchestrated the slaughter of civilians. You tried to weaponize our grief against us." "I acted for the galaxy's survival," he insisted. "Your species advances too quickly. You could become conquerors." Arya's voice lowered, steady enough to cut. "We became what we needed to survive. We protect our own. We don't start wars, but we end threats." Vraxtil stepped back. "Then end me." "No," Arya said. "You'll face judgment from the alliance you tried to manipulate." Her marines restrained him. Vraxtil struggled, then wilted as the realization settled. Humanity hadn't destroyed him, though they easily could have. He whispered, defeated, "You could have wiped us out." Arya met his gaze. "Humanity punishes the guilty, not the innocent. That's the difference between fear and justice." He had no answer. The arrest sent shockwaves through the Concord. Within hours, delegates convened emergency sessions. Species long silent about corruption stepped forward, emboldened by the evidence. Vraxtil's supporters fractured, abandoning him to save themselves. Arya returned to the Resolute's bridge as the galaxy reoriented itself around truth. Messages streamed in from various worlds, requests for cooperation, apologies, expressions of solidarity. The elder delegate sent a single encrypted transmission. "You have saved more than your own." The Concord breathes again. Cade joined her at the viewport as Valar Prime rotated slowly below. "So what now?" he asked. Arya considered the question. "Now we demand reforms, transparency, shared oversight, protections for every colony. And we make sure nothing like this happens again." "Think they'll listen?" he asked. "They have no choice," she said. "The galaxy saw what humans do when anger becomes action. And they saw we acted with restraint." Cade nodded. "People will remember." Arya watched the spire's crystalline towers glint against the stars. The structure looked smaller now, not diminished by damage, but overshadowed by something stronger. Truth had cut deeper than any weapon. Her comm chimed. The elder delegate's final message appeared, echoing the words that started everything. "Pray your gods that humans never turn their anger toward you. For when they rise, it is always for justice." Arya closed the communication and stepped back onto her command deck. The galaxy knew humanity now, not as monsters, not as victims, but as a force that moved only when pushed too far, and when it moved with purpose. And purpose was something no strategist could control.